All right. So like I said earlier on, in this meeting, what we're trying to do is to be on the same page regarding some of our events, our Scrum events that we do, and we're picking our sprint planning event and trying to look at where the gaps are in order for us to be able to collaborate together and help each other reach the same page and have a same understanding of what needs to be done prior to the event and then after the event. So we're looking at 3 stages. We're looking at the pre-stage, we're looking at the execution of the meeting or the event itself, and then what we do afterwards. So right now we're discussing about the pre-stage, the things we need to do. Okay, so we've been able to say that the capacity planning has to come prior to um, our sprint planning. We need to set up our estimation board. We need to set up our sprint. And setting up our sprint is putting the date in. Please bear with me for a few minutes. Please bear with me. All right, sorry about that. I was trying to shut down on my background noise. Okay, so we've been able to know that we need to set up, once you set up your sprint, in setting up your sprint board, you need to set up your sprint dates. That is getting things prepared, okay, before that day. Okay, so anyone, what, in your opinion, like, what day do you think, if your sprint planning is on a Monday, yeah, what day do you think you need to gather information you need in order to calculate your team's capacity for the sprint? What day?
3 days before.
3 days before.
Yes, 2 to 3 days before. Okay, so that's good. Thank you for that. So 2 to 3 days before. So if you're that means then that if your sprint planning is on a Monday, what day roughly do you want to put in place to collect information for your capacity planning?
On Friday. On
On
Friday.
Friday. Good. So you can decide on a Friday. So we're being, kind of practical right now. So on a Friday, you can set it in place to say Friday, we gather the team's capacity, because why you're giving it 2 to 3 days and you're not making it a day before or some few hours before, is you will have some team members that you will need to nudge and nudge and nudge before they give you that information. So you want to put a buffer there where if you do it on a Friday, you've put that if you've created your Google Sheet, you've put that Google Sheet on your communication platform earlier on, and you told team members, please complete this information because we need to use it. That's also giving yourself enough time to collect the information you've been given and use it to be able to work your capacity. So you're going into your sprint planning, you already know the team's capacity. So because you will go into that meeting and then you will have a situation where your PO, Daniel, I'm coming, where your PO wants you to take a lot of stories in, and then you need to be able now to use your capacity to be able to negotiate, to say, with the capacity we have, we might not be able to finish this. But if you don't get the team's capacity, you might not be able to negotiate properly with the PO regarding the number of stories that you are able to take in. Okay. All right, Daniel, quickly.
My question is, do we have to manually get capacity? Uh, like, is there any tool for to automate, get capacity? For instance, a tool that can easily monitor and you can check and say, okay, this person is on leave. So I'm just taking for example. So let's say we work in an organization where we work a regular 40 hours. Everybody works 40 hours, no part-time, and then everybody on the team also works 40 hours. So we already know that, Monday to this thing. And then from our calendars, for instance, because if we use a shared calendar, we can just go on the app and say, okay, this person has this meeting set up, this person has an holiday or doesn't have an holiday. Like, is there a tool that can be used to automate the capacity planning process?
Okay, so it depends from organization to organization. Like you said, there can be a calendar in, and if it is automated into your project, your collaborative tool, whereby if Daniel is not going to be in on Tuesday, he's put all the information there, and then are they now looking at the team's capacity? Because as a Scrum Master, what you need to know before your sprint planning starts is what is my team's capacity going into this new sprint we're going into. You want to see that. So there are tools, like you said, if the calendar is there and it is integrated into your collaborative tool, whereby you're able to see it that, okay, so this person, this is what this person has and all that, you're still going to be able to calculate it. Because what your integrated tool is doing is just to let you know when they're not going to be around, the days that they are not going to be around. Now you now have to look at it to say, okay, Daniel is taking 3 days off. So that means for this sprint, if it's a 2-week sprint, which is 10 days, Daniel is taking 3 days off. So Daniel's capacity going into this sprint is just 7 days. And if you know that on a normal day, if everybody is at work, nobody is taking any day off. If you have full capacity, no, like I said, nobody is taking any day off. We're able to conveniently, as a team, finish 12 story or 25 or 32 story points. Now that Daniel is not going to be around, definitely for 3 days, that's going to affect things. So by the time the PO is coming and they say, what's going on? You're supposed to work on these 10 stories, that just like you did the last sprint. Then you're able to negotiate to say, oh, we don't have the same capacity as we had the last sprint. But if you don't calculate that, or you don't, you won't be able to say that. Do you understand, Daniel? Hello.
Yes, I do. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was talking on mute. Yes.
And then the idea of you calculating it manually right now is so that even if you have that feature, which makes it easier to calculate, you know how to do it already. You know how to be able to calculate your capacity. You can do it manually. And then the feature you're talking about that is integrated to any of the tools you're using just makes the calculation easier for you. So it's better to learn from the basics. Do you understand? It's like once you know the basics, then you're able to work with any tool that has been put in place to help make that process easier for you to calculate your capacity. Or you, like I said, you as a Scrum Master still need to be aware on time of what your capacity is going into that sprint. And then you can use that to negotiate. Even when the team members are thinking, oh, we can finish it and all that, then you are able to say, oh, but we don't have a full capacity. So person is not available. So person, and all that. And don't forget the buffer we tell you that you put in, because they can be unknown happening during the sprint. You want to put that buffer in, but it's not something you put all the time. Like Naomi explained how you can do that very well when she says that if normally you're supposed to work on 32, your story, what is it called? Your story point is 32 that you can take into the sprints, that you know that the full team can work on fully. You want to say, oh, let's just take in 30. You're removing that to put a buffer in to say in case anything happens, at least conveniently we know that we can still do what we need to do during that sprint. Okay, so do we have a clear understanding on capacity now so that I can move to something else?
Sorry, this is Ade.
Yeah.
What happens if you do that and somebody cannot commit to that, to the availability? What do you do then? Because I know you're saying about like Daniel said, there's going to be days that unforeseen circumstances. What happens if someone cannot commit to that capacity? What do you do then? Do you, because what do we do when?
Yeah. So like I said, example, when Ade has said, okay, I'm gonna be here fully and everything, and he has an emergency, he can't come in, to finish the work that has been assigned to him or that he assigned to himself because he has an emergency. Okay, you get if Ade is a developer, you get the other developers together. Okay, you'll have a chat with them. Okay, Daniel is also a developer. Daniel, I know that you're working. Have you been able to finish what you're doing? Do you think you have, excess capacity? if Daniel has, and he said, oh yeah, fine, sure, can you pick up please on what Ade is doing and be able to finish? You think you're able to finish it? Daniel size up that story or where Ade has stopped, and then he's able to look at things to say, okay, so he's done 60% of it anyway, it's just 40% that's remaining. I'm able to do it. Do you think you're able to finish it and all that? So it's all about deliberation, and that is what your daily stand-up really is for. So because at that daily stand-up is when you the scrum master that Ade has informed that, sorry, I have an emergency, I can't be here and all that and everything and all that. That is the meeting you go into, yeah, and then you're able to tell team members to say, okay, so it's not an issue really. You can't call it an impediment, but it's an issue. Well, let me call it an issue. Really, it's not a risk anymore. It's an issue that needs to be resolved. Okay, so this is the situation we're in. Do we have any of the developers? You call all your developers. Do you have? Where are you with what you're doing? How many percentage of what you need to do are done? Oh, I have 80 done. I still have 20 to go. Okay, so the 20, would you finish it before the end of sprint? Oh, I should be able to finish it today. It's more a dialogue to see if we can accommodate Ade's remaining work and do it during the sprint. Now, let's assume all the developers they have their hands full. Yeah, they can't. There's no way they can accommodate what is remaining for Ade's from Ade's work in order for them to finish it. Even with their own, they're still trying their possible best to finish their own, so they can't take that on board to do. So what do you do in such a situation? Okay, so everybody knows that. Okay, so that means we won't be able to complete Ade's part of the story. Maybe let's assume Ade still has 2 stories to work on, or maybe just one, a part of one to finish. Okay, let's just say one to finish and all that. Definitely that would spill over, isn't it, into the next sprint. Okay, and you make your PO aware of it if the PO is not at the daily stand-up. You, the scrum master, have to let the PO know, okay, so we have this situation, Ade has an emergency, things happen. Okay, you can't that is why it's an uncertain environment. Things happen and nobody has the capacity to be able to do it. So Ade's work definitely will spill over into the next sprint. But the most important thing is not as if your stakeholders doesn't know that this kind of thing can happen. It's not as if the PO doesn't know that this kind of thing can happen. What they want is transparency. What they want is interaction to be made aware on time. So you tell the PO also, who is the intermediary between the stakeholders and the development team, notifies the stakeholders and let them know. Okay, so you can also have a complexity whereby that particular thing that Ade is working on, for Daniel to finish what he is working on, Ade needs to finish. There's a dependency. Okay, Ade needs to finish registration before Daniel can work on login. Now Ade is not able to finish. In that situation, Ade's remaining tasks takes priority over what Daniel needs to work on. So Daniel needs to stop what he's working on, pick what Ade is working on, and finish it up. Okay? Or else, because of that dependency, a lot of all the other developers will not be able to finish what they are doing. So I have do you understand, Ade?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So you
Yeah.
can spill over where is an independent feature and it's not dependent on any other thing, or it will not delay other developers' work. But where it disturbs other developers' work, whereby if it is not completed, every other developers or what the feature the other developers are working on we won't be able to do it. Then it takes priority. Somebody has to stop what they're doing and take this work on board, finish it up. Yeah, it's possible that now Daniel's login, we can't complete Daniel's login. That's fine. Once that registration is completed, we know if that login for Daniel spills over into the next sprint, it will be completed in the next sprint because the main thing that could be an impediment to it has been resolved. And that is what we do during our daily stand-up. Again, I'm saying when we give updates, we know where the impediments are, and as a team, we're able to resolve it. And you, as a Scrum Master, you're facilitating that process. Now, somebody Vivian said something, and I also observed it yesterday when she said after she wanted to hand over to the PO to do and everything because she didn't know that as a Scrum Master, she's meant to facilitate. Okay, so your main role as a Scrum Master is that you facilitate all the Scrum events. And what does facilitation mean? Facilitate means, it means to make something possible or easier. So you're making the process possible for them or easier for them when you facilitate the meeting. So you are the one that know that, okay, this meeting has to hold. And that's why we have that 3 stages. The pre-stage, what do I need to do for this meeting, for the sprint planning to be productive, for that meeting to hold? What do I need to put in place? I need to set the sprint. I need to set the estimation board. I need to calculate the capacity, know the team's capacity. I need to be aware that the stories are ready, checked on the board. Do we have stories in approved column? As the BA's written stories, has the story been approved by the PO? Are they in the approved column? So our sprint planning meeting is not a meeting where the PO and the BAs are saying, oh, okay, so that story is good. Okay, you can put it in approved. That is not the meeting for that. So when you notice there are no stories in the approved column before your sprint planning, again, I can say use either your Friday to do that, yeah, or your Thursday if possible. I won't say Friday because Friday is cutting it so close. Either your Thursday is a time when you're checking on your board to see, do we have stories in approved? There are no stories in approved. You're getting in touch with your BA. I can see that you have your stories in done. Have you contacted the P? Because it's the job of the BA to get in touch with the PO to tell them, oh, we have stories in BA done that we need you to review. So what approved means, approved is the column name that we've given that column on your project board. But what it means is that your PO is signing off on that story that has been written by the BA. He's saying, yes, everything you've put here is the expectation of is what the end user, all the stakeholders are requiring. And they've made the correction. If there's any acceptance criteria that were not written properly, any additional information that were not written properly, everything has been sorted. Okay, you have a project you're working on, let's say like the upload courses and everything, where you need to have data in and all that. You as a Scrum Master, you're checking, okay, so that story is saying they're able to click on that and get information. Do we have all the information, contents that needs to go in? Have they been put as an attachment on that story? You know, everything, just to make sure you're just checking with them. You're not the one reviewing. Remember, it's the PO that reviews. Have they gotten all those information from those contents from the right stakeholders? Is everything being put there? Have their stories, BA stories, met the definition of ready? Definition of done for the BA? And then has it met the definition of ready for the team? Once that has been done and everything, you know you're preparing for your refinement. The stories are ready for refining. Okay, all the information that I needed are there. So your refinement meeting is not even a place where the BAs now will be saying, oh, sorry, we've not attached the wireframe, we'll be attaching it. All those should have been ready, because when they put their story in BA done, what they are saying is this story has met our definition, the BA's definition of done. So you want to check that before, like we said, the pre-stage, you want to check that all those have been in place before you go into the meeting. So you set your board, you set your estimation board, everything that needs to be done. You've checked your story is, they're in the approach column. Like I said, you're checking with the PO also. PO, I noticed all those stories have been moved to web. The PO is the one that is meant to move the story. And that was why, I don't know the team I was in yesterday, and so somebody was saying, oh, BA, just move the story into a program. I said, it's not the BA's responsibility. If that BA moves the story from BA done to approved column, it's with the direction, with the instruction of the PO to say, oh, I've checked all those stories, was rushing and everything, all of them are fine, just move them to approved column. So the BA is moving that story with instruction, not just moving it to say, I've finished writing it, I've put it in BA done, I can just move it to approved. He's not the one that approves his own job. Here is the PO that does that. And then once you notice that your stories are in approved and all that, you're double checking again with your PO. I noticed we have 6 stories in the approved column. Are those the stories that are going into the next sprint? Yes, those are the stories that are going into the next sprint. That's fine. That doesn't mean your PO on the day of sprint planning can't bring any story. It's agile. Okay, so agility is there. They can bring any story in. If it takes priority over those 6, they can add it during the sprint planning day, and then the reading and everything would be done. So those are the things you do before you start your sprint planning. This capacity aspect is sorted out. You know where your capacity goes to on the sprint. So once you finish your calculation on your spreadsheet and all that, you're putting the details into your capacity page on your sprint board with everybody's name on it and everything, which I would want us to, because I saw some few mistakes and everything, but we'll share our screen later on and then see that. So let's just go through the processes and all the questions we have first before we do that. So at this stage, is there any question before we go further? Do we have any question? Anyone? Okay. All right. So what I will do, yeah, go on, Chi.
Yeah, for capacity planning now, for our own situation here, we have 2 QAs and 1 developer that we are sure of. So we are going to plan for these 3 people only. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, that's fine. And then I think your developers are more than 1, isn't it?
The people we know, the people we see, yeah.
Yeah, 2, because one of them was there today, but the other person could not make it for our own team. I don't know of the other team.
When we try to contact
Actually,
them
there
again,
are
we
lots.
tried.
If you check on the board at the moment, they were able to assign themselves about. So I can see like 5 of them, 5 different
There are
developers.
5. There are 5 in number, but 2 have been showing up.
In the meeting, but on the board now, they have assigned themselves tasks.
Okay.
All 5 of them.
Okay. Okay. So like I said, just you know that for your capacity is just your developers and your QAs. Your DAs are also developers. So any story that is being put in sprint for them that they are working on it as developer. The only difference is that your QAs won't test the DA's work. Okay?
And
their work
you're
won't
not
be
supposed to
tested.
estimate their work also.
Yes, then they're supposed to estimate there. So when you're doing your estimation, they're supposed to be part of it if they have a story that is going into the sprint. Okay, and another advice you can give them so that it doesn't confuse the QA is that when they write their story, because I know they're the ones writing their own stories themselves, when they write their own story, if they can put DA in brackets, so that the QA knows that, okay, any story that has DA in it, they don't test it because it's not part of how will I put it?
The product.
The product. Well, thank you, Chief, for that they are going to test. So they can't carry out manual tests on what they need to do and everything like that. They test what the software developer is developing or building, not what the DA is doing, because even though they're working as developers also. So demarcating the stories would really help not confuse your testers going forward. Yeah. Any other questions? So we're all clear now on capacity, when we do it, how we do it, where we put the information we get on it per team member. Okay, so having said that, do we get, okay, so for all your team members, okay, you can create your Google Sheet and include everyone and get everyone's capacity. You can get all the Scrum Masters capacity, you can get all the BA's capacity, but the capacity that you're actually calculating to go on the board are the capacities of who and who, please?
Developers.
Developers and
QAs.
Yes. So the capacity you're getting for your BAs and the capacity you're getting for your Scrum Masters, it doesn't go on your capacity page, but it helps you because then you know if your BAs are not going to be around, the number of BAs that want to be around. Okay, so it can be kind of a timesheet when it's on your document, but when you're putting it on your Azure board, on your capacity page, it's just the one for the developers, the DAs, and the testers that you want to put there. So every other person's capacity per day, who is not a DA, who is not a developer, and who is not a tester, would be 0. Because I noticed that you're giving your Scrum Masters and your BAs capacity. What that would do is it would increase your capacity. It will take your capacity very high. And then when you commit to maybe 6 stories, and you're saying everybody is working on 6 stories, that is what your chart would show. And then when you now have all those 6 stories not moving along the way they should, your velocity chart and your burn down chart is looking at it to say that, oh, they have these so many capacity and they can't finish this little story within the days they have. And that is what is going to interpret out for you. But when you limit yourself to the number of people, you have just maybe 2 developers and you have 2 QAs and you have 3 stories, and those are the capacity that you've put on your board and everything, then your burn down has right information, right data, in order to be able to give you the right outcome and the right results. So the information you feed your chart also, when you're not feeding it with the right information, it will be giving you the wrong information also. So we need to put that in place, but don't let's deviate. So we finished the pre-aspect now, okay? We talked about your capacity, set up your board, set up your sprint board, make sure the stories are ready, all the stories in approach are the one things we want to work on. Check if your PO is able to attend that meeting. If PO said that I'm not able to attend that meeting, know your BA that is going to run. Okay, so in the workplace out there, you have just one BA per team, okay? So what you have here is, kind of internship and all that. So another thing you can suggest to your team members going forward is for you to have a rota. Who is the BA that is going to work during the sprint? So they are all writing stories, but when we say who is the BA that is working during the sprint, you want to know the BA that is taking lead over that sprint. Might be the one that will read all the story, might be the one that will collaborate with the others to make sure that all their stories are ready and know their story have all the information it needs to have. So they can take it in turns. So when they take it in turns, it helps them when they get out there in the workplace to be able to stand on their own. Because you won't have, like I said, you won't have 2 BAs working on the project. It's just 1 BA working in a team. Don't let me say on a project, because when you have the enterprise project, you have different BAs in different teams working on the same project. So but you have just 1 BA working with a team, with a team, a Scrum team. It's just 1 BA. So the earlier they start standing on their own 2 feet, the better. And the same applies to you Scrum Masters. The earlier you start working with being just the Scrum Master that facilitates an event, or you rotate it, the better for you. You won't have 5 Scrum Masters in the workforce out there. It's just you alone. So the earlier you take the bull by the horn, the better for you. Okay, get your hands dirty, make the mistake, learn from it. Mistakes you learn from sticks up here more than the one you don't want to try. And believe you me, it's very easy when somebody else is looking at somebody else is doing it, and you're looking at that person. Oh, it's easy. It's just not just for me to do this and that. It's by the time you share your screen and you need to do it, that's when you will know it's not easy. But if you don't put yourself out there, yeah, you won't learn that process. Okay, so let's move to the event now. The event itself. Okay, so there was something else Vivian said about reminding team members. Yes, so that's fine. I would say initially when your team members, okay, so in the workforce out there, they know, okay, that this is the day that your sprint planning is. They know the day. You can do a gentle reminder to them, or you've set your calendar in such a way that it will do a reminder to them. And then at a particular time during the meeting, so that they are aware that this is when we meet for our sprint planning. Okay, and then you're coming to your sprint planning now. So let's talk about what are the steps, what are the things we do during our sprint planning, the execution of the meeting itself. Anyone? Okay, what did you do yesterday during your sprint planning? Let me put it that way then. Oh, team members, talk to me now.
I
Daniel,
think,
yes?
I don't know, I can try. I
Okay,
think
Masa, go on.
we read out the stories and we estimated the time, the effort it will take to get the job done or something like that.
Okay, take it step by step. What you've done now is to do an overview. I want you to take it step by step. What do you do first, and then next, and then let's take it that way. You want to give it a go again, Martha?
Like to read out the stories.
Okay, so who read out what? You?
The Scrum Master.
Is it the Scrum Master that reads the story?
Yeah.
Sorry, the BA.
Product owner.
Is it the product owner that reads the story?
Can I give it a try, please?
Okay. Ade, before I call you, Daniel has his hand up. Daniel, do you want to give it a try? Was that why you raised your hand? Or
Yes, I want to, but I think
okay,
others can
Daniel,
go.
hold on before you talk. Delphine, that hand must have been hurting you by now.
Thank you.
Okay, Ade, go ahead. Oh, sorry, is it Daniel now? Ade, who?
Emoji, I think let Ade go.
Okay, all right, Ade.
Thank you. I think when you open up the user story, you go for the description, and then you read the description and the acceptance criteria, and then
I want to know who does it.
the business owner.
I think the BA.
No. Is it the
Okay,
BA?
Ade said business owner. Is there any Scrum team member that is the business owner?
No.
Sorry, the
He
product.
mixed
Sorry,
the position.
sorry, the product owner.
Okay, all right.
Because I know the dialogue, the dialogue together with the developers. But the way I know it is that you read out the description, then the acceptance criteria, then you invite them to, I don't know, I think you invite is it the BA to talk, to explain it, then the developer would argue it. Help me out.
Okay. Anybody wants to help? Ade, call a friend to help you.
Daniel.
Phone a friend. Daniel is not available. Okay. All right. So from my own end, now looking at a proper sprint planning now, when I'm starting, I feel the first thing I would want to do, since this is now the event, is to kind of ease the atmosphere, if possible, an icebreaker, or at least talk about the previous sprint. I mean, if not really talking about the previous sprints, but at least thank the team for their efforts on the previous sprint, and then it could be just like a line or two about what we achieved in the previous sprint, and then tell them I'm looking forward to working with them in the new sprint and smashing our goals, and then we can go into reading the user stories that have been already approved, because of course we must have done refinements that have been already approved. Now, Bolu also said something yesterday, which is just by the way, but I mean, I'm just saying, like she said in our own organization, that they actually do all the reading and all the estimation during refinement, even though this might be against, like not the usual sprint planning rule. And then for us yesterday as well, we already read the user stories, we already asked questions, and then deliberated during our refinement. However, we had somebody that just came in and then we had to read it again. So the BA, there will be a dedicated BA, for that meeting that reads the stories, and then the developers that are involved in that will be involved in working on that project specifically. They'll be able to ask questions and then get clarification where they need. And then once the questions have been answered and everything, so we estimate each story on the go. So once we pick a story, we've read about it, they've asked questions and everything, then we estimate that story on the spot. So we don't wait until the end to now estimate all the stories. So we estimate all the stories, and then when we estimate, if there's a major difference in the estimation, we get clarification on why the difference, and then the team comes to a conclusion on what our story points should be. And then once we are done and we've estimated, we move on to the next story, and then we do all that. So once we've estimated all the stories and everybody's fine, then we commit the stories, we go to our board, and then we commit the stories into the sprint. So move them to the committed stage, and then we go into our backlog section, and then we commit them into the sprint. Then once we have committed them into the sprint, the task board is automatically created, and then we can see it on the task board. So that's what is done. That's what I feel is done during the sprint planning. I don't know if I missed anything.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Some little use of words, okay? Because we want you to start using the buzzwords and get used to using the buzzword, okay? So once you commit to the story, what you do is you don't commit them into the sprint, you move them into the sprint, which, I'm sure you saw how to do it, to move it into the sprint. So let's just be aware of, let's start. I want us to start getting used to, saying those words. But that the process, like you explained, is quite right. And like you said, Bolu explained all onto you also. Some team do their estimation during refinement, but you can, even for a team that has done their estimation prior at refinement, you can have a situation where they still have estimation revised, let me put it that way, on the same story, even at sprint planning. Okay, so a situation you have is where you have we've done the estimation and all that, and we've gone, and before, when it comes to the sprint plan, maybe a day or two before sprint planning, an idea occurred to me to say, that acceptance criteria and everything, will it be applicable really because of this, that? So we're coming back to sprint planning, okay? And then Ade is saying, sorry, before we go ahead to commit to this and everything, there is some further clarification I need regarding that acceptance criteria number 4 that says this. Really, won't it be and we get further clarification. So while you go through some stories at the sprint planning, or the stories you've gone through during refinement, while you go through them again at sprint planning, is in a situation where you have there's a need for further clarification based on a question that has risen before it. And if that clarification is done, as a Scrum Master right now, you now want to know that based on this, in light of this new information that had come in, or further clarification that has been given, are we you're checking out with the developer and the tester to say that is that effort still okay, or do we need to re-estimate this now? Okay, so that's why you at times have a situation where you have estimation again during your sprint planning. If you've done it during the refinement, if there are no changes to it and all that, and we're going into the sprint planning, as a Scrum Master, it's still your job in order to get that in, because you don't want any delay during the sprint when the sprint starts. Okay, to say that, okay, I know we've done all this. Keyways developers, are we still good to go with that estimation? Does it still stand? They said, oh yes, that's fine, it still stands and everything and all that. And then you leave it at that. Where there are further clarification, and that clarification, they now have a new understanding from what they have previously during the refinement. You want to check also that, does that new clarification they have now, does it have any effect on the estimation that has already been done? If the new information they get or the further clarification they've gotten, they realize that there are more work to be done. Oh, I need to change my estimation. Then I can't give it that 5 points, 5-story point. It's going to be an 8 now, because now with the explanation, I found out that we have more work to do, and as a result, we need to reestimate, and that is done. Yeah, during the sprint planning. And even if the further clarification leads to a situation where they realize that, wow, this story is big. Now, with the information that you've given us, that means we need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and all that. It's so big that it's going to be a 13. And as a 13, we need to break it down further. We need to make this story 2 stories rather than 1 story. Okay, so those are part of the things also you want to discuss during your sprint planning. And then you're telling the PO, based on the fact that now it has become a 3, if it is not dependent on anything else that we need to work on during the sprint, is it okay that that's you, the Scrum Master, now looking at the story the way it is now, that it needs to be broken down further, and you can't get your BA to start breaking it down further in that meeting? Do we take this story out of what needs to go into the sprint so that the BA can work on it, break it down further, and then maybe we'll commit it in the next sprint? And remember, like I said, if it is not dependent, if it's not a situation where if we take that story out, it's going to affect every other thing we need to work on, it's going to delay every other thing, they're dependent on it, then if you can take it out and then negotiation again with the PO to say, can we do that? The PO said, oh yeah, fine, it's good, you can do it. Or if it takes priority, that's when other stories are dependent on it, it takes priority over the other story, the team can agree to tell the BA that, okay, if we need to break this down, if we break it down, let's assume we're breaking that 1 story down to making 2 story out of it, and both of them takes priority, they need to go in, okay, into the next sprint that we're going into. It's something that you can discuss there to say, maybe you have about 2 scenarios in that story, and we want each scenario to stand as its own story, independent as its own story. Okay, the scenario is there already in the story. It's just that we want the BA to split it into separate stories. And then based on that, your team members can still look at it to say, okay, the first scenario, size it up. What story points do you want to estimate for it? The second one, what estimation do you want to put for it? Maybe they said, okay, the first one can be an 8. No, this first one can be a 3, and then the second one can be a 5. And they've sized it up already to look at the effort it's going to be, because they've discussed it. They know how the story is going to be. And if that story needs to go in, we know that, okay, the BA is going to break it. Even while that meeting is going on, the BA can be doing the breaking behind. So that before you finish your sprint planning, it's still part of what you commit into the sprint. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Do we have any questions based on that explanation now, or it's clear for us? I didn't even know who asked the question that led to that. Was it Ade or Daniel?
Ade and Daniel.
Okay. Ade, is
Yeah.
it Ade or Daniel? I'm not sure.
It was joint.
Joint. Okay. So jointly, Ade and Daniel is
Yeah,
that clear now?
I'm okay. Yeah, thank you.
Daniel, what about
was
you? Are you
was
okay?
I right though? Even I didn't complete it. Daniel was like he completed it for me. But was I right from the beginning? What I was saying in the beginning, or did I
Sorry.
go offline? When I said that you open the user story and you go to description and acceptance criteria, was that wrong?
Yes.
So,
Okay. So remember, another thing you said, I noted it down. Sorry that I forgot and all that. You did say the process, but you're not saying who does what. So who does the description and everything? You should be able to say it in your process that, okay, so when you start off your sprint planning as a Scrum Master, you welcome everyone. And I love what Daniel said also about making everybody calm. Most times you don't really need an icebreaker. Remember, your sprint planning, depending on the day it is though, your sprint planning is a new event starting. So there's been a relaxation. You've done icebreaker during your retro, which is your last event. You don't want to start your sprint planning with doing another,
icebreaker.
again, so that you don't turn to a clown SM. This one likes playing too much and everything. I do understand that you want to make your team members relax and all that, but you can do that with just saying, hope you had a wonderful weekend. If there's a weekend before your, your sprint planning, hope everybody is good and everything like that and all that. Just make them, just a general greeting kind of. You can do that. And then Daniel did say, there was something else Daniel said that I love when he was saying that, Daniel, what did you say now? I've forgotten.
It's recorded.
Okay, so we can pick it. But there was something he said that he would also do at the beginning of that meeting and all that, just to make, because you want that meeting to be focused. You want everybody to be focused in that meeting. Okay. We don't want to do an icebreaker that takes us out of what we need to do too much.
Okay.
Yeah. You want it to be productive. You remember it's time boxed. You want it to be productive and you want people to be focused on what they need to do.
Okay.
So telling them, okay, so that was okay, Daniel, I remember now, he was saying that he would appreciate the team for the past sprint. That's the motivational thing to do that would help them to focus, and that gives a vibe of you appreciate them, and that appreciation comes in a situation where they're focused and they're ready to go into the next sprint. It gingers them, it fires them up to go into the next sprint when you do that motivational, well done for the last sprint, kudos to the team and everything like that. Okay, so we're going into the same into another sprint. Let's do what we know how to do best. Some give themselves slogan and all that when they go into their meeting and everything and all that, and then you're going into that meeting and then you start it. So like I said, as a Scrum Master, your job is to facilitate. I don't want to use the word you're a presenter, but really that's what you're doing, but you're facilitating, you're making the process easier for them, possible and easier for them to be able to do. Okay, at that meeting, that is what you're doing. You're leading that meeting, so to say. And then that the next thing, once you start that meeting, that is to okay. So Daniel also said, I think, I'm not sure if Daniel or Adi that said that the PO reads the description and the acceptance criteria, and the BA gives the clarification. The BA can do both, so they don't have to split it up. So in some situation, you have the PO also carrying out the role of the BA. In such situation, they are the ones that says, okay, these are the stories that we're going to work on, and then read through the stories, and they are the ones that provide the clarification. In a team where you have just the BA, you don't have a PO in that meeting. Your BA is the one reading the description, acceptance criteria, providing clarity so that everybody is on the same page. Everybody has a shared understanding concerning that story. And like Daniel said, some team would say we estimate per story as we go ahead. Some teams, if you've done your refinement already, really, you don't need to go through or read all the stories and everything and all that before you go into, or do one by one, because you've done the refinement already. So what you're doing in your sprint planning, okay, so let's assume your refinement was done on a Friday. Okay, you don't expect that by Monday it's still fresh on people's mind. And that is why I would advise that the next sprint you have, just to have an experience of another estimation board. Instead of using your estimation poker, use the one that is just estimation. That puts all your description and your acceptance criteria inside the story that is on your estimation board. So in case anybody forgets, oh, what is this story all about? All you need to do is just pull up in that estimation board and show them, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. This is the one that talks about this. Okay, so let's go and estimate. I understand it now. You can start your sprint planning and just go on your estimation board. Like I said, all the description and acceptance criteria are in there. They get a gist of what it is, and then they're able to vote because you've done refinements and everybody has been aware of it. It's only in a situation where, like I said, a new development or a clarification that will lead to anything that is being changed, then you can go to the story on the board, yeah, and then do the updating that needs to be done into the story before you now come onto your estimation board. You also have some teams that join both their refinement and their sprint planning, which is anti-pattern, because that's two meetings that you're joining together. But you do have some that do that. Again, if there's a new story that the PO is bringing in, you will need to refine that story, isn't it, before you plan on it, before you estimate on it. So you can have such happening, but they are in rare cases. But if it happens, that is while agile is agile, ready to respond to change. Being agile is being able to respond to the having that agility in place. Yeah. Okay. So where we've gotten to now, before we go further, does everybody has an understanding? From reading the story, getting clarification, and then going to estimates. Do we understand that process now? That step-by-step process. Who does what? Not the Scrum Master reading the story, but the BA reading the story. In a situation where you have your BA has an emergency, on the day that they're supposed to, on your sprint planning day, we're not going to stop sprint planning because the BA is not there and the PO is not available. Scrum Master, you become acting BA, you will read the story. The only thing that you might not be able to do is to provide clarity. So in a situation where we finish our refinement, there is nothing new to do. It's just for us to go into our sprint planning, and then you've done if you've done your estimation during your refinement time and all that, you can as well, if your BA is not around, still go ahead with your sprint planning. But for your refinement meeting, you need either your PO or your BA in order to do that event, because you need them to be able to provide clarity for that story. But it's not something that you should now accept that, oh, every sprint planning, because I am there and the BA is not there, we can just run it. We need them. You need either the PO or the BA to be in your sprint plan, because like I said, in a situation where clarity is needed, you can't provide that clarity. They are the ones that can provide that clarity, because they are the ones that knows the requirements that is coming from the end users or the stakeholders that needs to be clarified. Okay, Martha, you have your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because I thought when we were talking about the execution of the meeting, we said it's the PO that will read the story. So now it is either both of them, or in order of priority is the PO, and if the PO is not there, the BA.
Okay, so I just explained that in a Scrum team where you have both the PO and the BA, who wrote the story that we need clarification on?
The BA.
It's the BA. So it's the BA that reads the story and provides clarification on what they have written that either the developer or the testers do not understand. Where the PO comes in at times is to provide further clarity, which, remember, the PO is the one that approves that story.
Yes.
So if there's any aspect of that story that she feels, oh, the BA has not represented or has not been clear, properly specific in this aspect of that story, he or she would have done it while reviewing that story in order to approve it.
Okay.
So if there's anything, maybe there's a criteria that he feels, okay, concerning this acceptance criteria, the BA, you've not, what the stakeholder or the end user wants is actually to they'll be able to tell that BA would have done all the correction and everything. Once that story moves to approved, what the PO is saying is this story is good to go.
Okay.
And most times when you have your PO at the meeting, the main reason why they are there is to say that I want all these stories going into the sprint.
Okay.
You understand? And they've put it in the order of priority. When they're arranging it in the approved column, they would have arranged it in order of priority in the approved column. Or they should have. So that's another confirmation you can get for them that, oh, PO, are the stories approved, arranged in this column in the order of priority? And he said, yes, that's the way they are. The first one is the one I want you to work first on and everything. So when you're moving them into sprint, that's the way you move them also, because they've already been arranged in the order of importance.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Any other questions? Anyone before we go ahead? Okay. All right. So after estimation, who can tell me what we need to do next? So all the stories now have been estimated on your estimation board. What do you do next? Anyone? Does anyone want to explain? Anyone that has not spoken today, please. Anyone? Anyone?
I'm thinking it's after
Martha, you've spoken today.
Okay, sorry.
I want somebody else. Victoria?
Hi, Moji.
Hi. You've been quiet. So far, do you have a you're catching on so far, isn't it? You have an understanding of everything we've discussed about so far.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So after the estimation, what is the next step? What is the next process that needs to be done? So all the stories have been estimated on the estimation board. What do we do next? What do you think? You want to call a friend?
I would like to call a friend.
Okay, so who are you calling? Don't call Adeo and don't call Daniel.
Okay. Vivian was there, but I don't want to call Vivian.
Vivian. Okay. Friend Vivian. Help your
Delphine, maybe?
Delphine.
Once the stories have been estimated, I believe the developers now will assign themselves their tasks, what they're going to do by breaking down these stories into different tasks and subtasks.
That's not the first thing you do. Immediately they finish the estimation. It's part of the what needs to be done, but that's not the first thing you do. Before they get to breaking down the story into tasks that they need to do, what is the first thing that happens after your estimation? But after the estimation, what do you do as a Scrum Master?
You move it into sprint.
Okay, so you go back on your main board.
Yeah.
Okay, remember you're on the estimation board and you can't move them into sprint on your estimation board. Even though that's not the next thing you need to do, but well done, Emmanuel. Okay, so there's something you need to do. The main reason for your sprint planning. Anyone?
The thing
Chi,
after
you want to
agree
try?
on the sprint goal.
Sorry?
The thing after agree on a sprint goal.
Okay, yeah, that's part of what we need to do, but that's not the next step. What's the next step? Okay, Ade or Daniel?
Will be the
Anyone?
capacity, filling out the capacity on the sprint.
Sorry, Emmanuel?
Filling out the capacity on the sprint.
No, that has been done. That's part of your pre.
No, on the
Ade?
agenda now.
Is that the scope and purpose? Is that part of it?
Sorry?
The scope and purpose. You do the scope.
When you say scope, I don't understand.
Okay, you have to check your burn down chart.
No.
No, sorry.
Daniel?
No.
Not available at the moment.
He's available. Help your brother. Okay, so once you leave your estimation board and you go back on your main board, that is when, as a team, you're looking at what you can commit to. So you've estimated all the stories that are there, the 10 stories that are there. So having estimated them does not mean you can commit to all of them. That is now when the developers and the testers are looking at all those stories. The PO had already said it. I want all these 10 stories to go in. We've estimated them. We've gotten clarification. We all have a shared understanding of what it is now. And we've estimated them and everything. This is when now the developers and the testers are looking at them and agreeing, collaborating. Are we able to commit to everything? That is what the planning is all about. How much work can we do in this sprint that we're going to? Looking at our capacity, how much work can we commit to? So that commit that we're saying, we need to deliberate on it before doing it. And that is where your capacity comes in. Using your capacity to determine how much work that you're taking into the sprint. Using your capacity to determine how much work we're committing to. So okay, because we've just started now, I'm assuming now that the developers are on and we'll start seeing stories now, moving along like Emmanuel wanted to see and getting to done. Yeah. And now that it gets to done, our capacity will be able to pick up and give us an average capacity. Okay. So you've configured your capacity with story points, and it's telling you that in the next sprint that you're going to, your average capacity is 15. Oh, sorry, the average velocity. Your average velocity is saying that this is the average effort that you can work on based on the way you've worked in the past, and you want to stay on that. You can definitely improve, but that is what you want to start working in, to say, okay, this average velocity that this chart has given onto us, at least if it says 15, let's take in a story of 15, total of 15 story points, and achieve that. Now, for you to use your average velocity, please be aware that your capacity has to be constant. Constant in the sense that if what your velocity used to calculate that average velocity of 15 is when you are at full capacity. At full capacity is saying when you people are full and you're working within the number of days you have, you are able to conveniently complete 15, a total of 15 story points in a sprint. Remember that when you don't have full capacity, do you see why you need to get your capacity now? When you don't have full capacity, you can't base it on the same thing. So even though that chart is telling you your average velocity is 15 story point, a total of 15 story points, you know that you achieve that total effort, sorry, total story point, effort story point is the same thing, of 15 in the previous sprint, or two previous sprints when you have full capacity. Now, half of your team are going. So maybe you have half capacity going into the sprint. You can't commit to 15 because you won't be able to finish it. You're over committing. Do we understand that logic? Yeah. Let me use another very lay term to explain this. We have 4 laborers working on a building site. I'm not going to use the technology that we have now, that you have crane and all that takes bricks up to the top floor and all that. Let's assume it's the normal one where you have the laborers are the one carrying the bricks themselves up the stairs. Now you have like I said, let's put it 5. We have 5 laborers, and within a week they're able to take 400 blocks up the stairs for every 1 week. So the 1 week is the sprint, okay? So for every 1 week, they will take 400 bricks up the stairs. The 400 is the total story points, okay? And then your 5 laborers are your team, both the developer and the tester and everything. So previously, they were able to take, like I said, 400 bricks up the stairs in a week. A new week now comes. They gathered again. The company has provided 400 bricks for them that they're going to take up to the topmost, wherever they're building, for the bricklayers to use and all that. And then out of that 5 of them, by the time they got there, what's the person that supervises building sites? They have a name.
Foreman.
Thank you. The foreman realizes that he has 3 people in his hand. Will the 3 of them be able to take those 400 bricks up the stairs that 1 week?
No.
They won't.
No, it take longer.
It will take them longer. Thank you. But they don't have longer. It has to be done that 1 week. They can't exceed that 1 week. So as a farmer now, you're looking at it, and then you're telling the bricklayer and everything. Okay, so that level you are in, that you are doing, how many bricks do you really need to finish that? Because I don't have the I don't have the capacity. I don't have the manpower to take 400 bricks up for you. So we need to reduce the number of bricks that are coming up, because my manpower has reduced. The capacity has reduced to 3 from 5. Do we have an understanding? I'm just using that to give us a better understanding of your capacity and then your story points. with what you do within the sprint. So knowing that I have less capacity and the PO is saying that, okay, so let me use the foreman now as the PO and maybe one of those laborers as the main person that is talking on behalf of, you know, the laborers, which is you, the scrum master. And the PO is saying, oh, the foreman, who is the PO, is saying, all these 400 bricks, they need to go up this week. You say, Oga, we just have three laborers. Oh, that's your capacity now. We won't be able, the three of us, we can't finish that in the 5 days that we're supposed to do this. And then that's when the negotiation comes in. Okay, so how many can you people take and everything and all that? And then maybe normally when they were 5 and all that, even though it's 400, it's not as if all of them are taking 80 each. Maybe one person can take 50, and maybe they allow one person to, they assign 40 to one person, maybe because she's female or is younger or is older and all that. So you're looking at that person. Okay, so this person, that young person that normally takes just 40 is present. The one, maybe the 2 that are not present are the ones that normally take 80. You're putting that into your negotiation with the foreman, who is the PO. Okay, and then being able to now decide based on the capacity to say we can't take 400. Even if you divide it and say, okay, 80 by 80 and everything, that's 80 times 3 capacity that you have. And then it comes to, oh, we can only take 400 blocks up. So that is you negotiating with the PO to say, based on the capacity is when we commit. So those 3 laborers are committing to say that, oh, we can only take 240 for this week in order to be able to complete it. If you put all the 400 there, at the end of the day, we will only be able to do 240 anyway. You will read the remaining 160 will be there for us to do in the next week. So when we overcommit, that's what we have. So the main, not the whole, but at least the main reason for you planning that sprint is to be able to know how much work we can do during that sprint. And that comes after your estimation. Because like all the stories now have been estimated, you calculate all the story points on them, and it comes to maybe a total of 40. Yeah, and then you're looking at your capacity. You know that, okay, going forward, we can only take in a total story points of 30 or 32. You negotiate as a scrum master on behalf of the team members to say, with the capacity, this is what you can, and that is what you now commit to. So you don't blindly, like I said, commit to everything, or you don't feel that I don't want the PO to get angry. You know, your developers and your QAs don't want to upset the PO. So the bad person, you're not a bad person, but the one that takes the, how will I put it, the shit, if I can use that, pardon my language, for the team is you, the scrum master. And that's why you have your negotiating skills in place. So you're not saying categorically, oh, no, PO, we can't do it. You have to say your no with reason, objectively, you have to say your no with facts. And your fact is, this is the story point. This is the capacity. If we take everything in, we'll be overcommitting. So what are the ones that are already, you remember that the stories have been arranged in order of priority already. So now you now leave it to the PO, is the discretion of the PO to say the ones that we're taking. I want this one in, I want this one in, I want this one in, I want this one to go in, and I want that one to go in and everything. He knows the ones that are dependent on the other and everything. And then they look at those ones. And then we decide that, okay, out of the 10 stories that the PO wants us to take in, if you calculating all the story points on them and everything, we can actually only take 4 or 5 or 7 in, and then we would work on the other ones. So from your approved column, those agreed 7 are what you're taking into the committed column. That is what you've agreed now to commit to. And remember, the people that are talking about the commitment is not you, the scrum master, to say, oh, team, we're committing to just this. They are the ones doing the work. So you get their agreement. And when you need to negotiate on their behalf, based on the capacity, you negotiate. And then you go back to them to say, okay, the PO wants us to take this 7 story in, you know, based on what we've just discussed. Is that okay? Developers, testers, is that okay? Oh yeah, that's good. I'm sure with this we'll be able to do it with a number of, you know, with our capacity and everything. And then that's when you move those 7 into the committed column. That is the next thing you do after your estimation. So you don't just move all the stories, you look at what we can commit to, how much work that we can realistically do. You know, not blindly committing to things now, being realistic, being objective. And then when we now move those stories into the committed column, that is when your sprint goal comes in now. You now look at all those stories and you agreed on your sprint goal going forward. Your sprint goal is based on the stories you put into the sprint, isn't it? So if we put in a login, registration, we put in forgotten your password, you put in remember my login details, all that is talking about security wise authentication. So your sprint goal might be authentication, security and authentication. Okay, if the stories you've taken in into sprint is instructor uploads, student, okay, yours is not student, or depending each team, if it's instructor able to become an instructor, that's part of your login. Instructor being able to upload, instructor being able to what else do they do? Create, I'm just thinking here, create
Content.
a training, you know, things like that and everything. You look at the stories you've taken in, and your sprint goal is a summary of, you know, what you've taken in. This is what you want to achieve at the end of that sprint, which is your sprint goal has to align with the stories that you've taken in into the sprint. Okay, if it is the students are able to make payments using PayPal, using Klarna, using your sprint goal might be payment process. Do you understand now? And it's agreed by the whole team together. There are times when some product owner bring in the sprint goal that for this sprint, this is what I want us to work in. So they have a working sprint goal. But by the time you commit to what you want to work with, it might change that sprint goal. So you might now have to update that sprint goal together as a team. And then once you move your story on the Azure board from approved, the number of stories, into committed column, you have to now move those stories into sprints. They will not automatically go into sprints, even though they are sitting on the committed column. So that's when you now view as a backlog. You highlight them, you click on the ellipses, and then you find it there, move into sprint. So the sprint date that you've set would show when you move it into sprint, and you're able to move them, and then you start seeing them showing sprint to sprint to sprint to sprint to. And then to double check, if you go on your sprint board, you can see everything on your sprint board. Okay, so after that process, okay, Laumi. Hi, Laumi.
Hi, so sorry. Because of what you mentioned, that's what I just wanted to say. So I showed Daniel and I told him I was going to ask if he told his team how to go about it. So Daniel, first confirm before I tell Moji the next thing.
Well, we've not been able to meet, though I informed them. You even saw that I informed them. I announced.
Yes, I know. Okay, no problem.
But we've not been able to meet today because of, you know.
No, it's fine. But you can share your screen to just show for a second. But aside that, Moji, the problem they have on their board that I couldn't finish with him yesterday night because it was already late. He had slept before I called him back. So they are on each of the columns, they are, my head is blank. So each of the columns, instead of them to have
the stories are not showing the state.
The right state is giving them new, even when it's in dev. So that means at the start of the internship, that video you did for the parts and all that, they're changing all those things. I don't think Emerald did it.
We'll check it now.
Not Emerald, Ruby. I don't think Ruby did it. So
okay. We'll check both boards now to see.
Yeah. But Daniel can just show what he learned yesterday to be sure he knows what we are talking about.
Okay.
Namaste.
I think Emerald, we did that already, isn't it? But let's Daniel show the Ruby team how to do it. Then anybody that didn't understand it during the Emerald process when Vivian was doing it can get another understanding right now. All right, go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, so this was yesterday after the so when we finished, actually, when we wanted to move the sprint back to this sprint, so we just did it from, please hold on. So what Laomi asked me to do was to go here and then to move them to sprint from here, so that way the task will show. So for instance, if we wanted to, if let's say this courses now was in our previous sprint and we couldn't complete it, and we needed to move them back to sprint 2 to resprint them. So what we're supposed to do is to come to backlogs here and then drag it into the sprints, or just like just when we click on the ellipses here, and then we click on move to iteration, and then we'll move to current sprint. That way it will move all the same tasks that were in the previous all the tasks that have been registered on it. It will move it together, and that way when we come to our sprints, we'll be able to see all the tasks. So if we see here, many of these tasks that have been input on this search bar, they were done on 17th of May, because I actually did what Laomi asked me to do. So if you want to resprint any item, you need to come to the backlog and then use the ellipses, then move to iteration, and then click on the current sprint. However, so what we were having, what I needed assistance with is that, so if we come here, now the stories have been moved, they're in depth. These are some of the stories that were moved from previous sprint, but the state still shows new.
Okay, we'll get to
So,
that.
okay.
I don't want it so that we don't lose all the other guys.
But I think Daniel was the first in his class. He explained it very well. There is nothing to add. It was you were first in your class before in the school, have you? Just say the truth.
Okay, thanks Daniel for that, but don't stop sharing yet. So do we all understand what Daniel said about how to move? Once you finish your estimation now, you've committed to the story. So let's assume the stories are sitting down, because all your stories will be sitting down in the committed column. They won't be sitting down in the in-depth, okay? So you move them from the approved column into the committed column, the ones we're committing to. And then, like he said, once they are in the committed column, the way you move them into sprints. So like I said, just them sitting down in your committed column doesn't mean automatically they've gone into the sprint. You now need to move them into sprint. And how to move them is what Daniel just showed us now, that you need to go to the backlog, which you can go through your side panel, or at the top of your board, you can see view as backlog. You can go through either way and all that. And he has shown you also the 2 ways that you can move to sprint. Either you drag, your planning panel is open, yeah, and then you drag from the story into the planning panel, like he showed us, Daniel. Yeah, thank you. Or you click on the ellipses. That was the one that Emra did yesterday. You click on the ellipses, you go to where you have move to iteration, and then you move it into the current iteration. Do we all understand that process now?
Yeah, a question, please. Does that apply to all those ones sitting in Dev that are spillover?
All the ones that were sitting where?
In development, the stories that we couldn't do in the first sprint.
Okay, so let's assume you have stories that were not completed. Okay, Daniel, can you go back to the main board? Thank you. Okay, so let's assume that this is the last day of your sprint, and all those stories sitting in dev are the stories that need to be spilled over. Okay, this is just using this as an example. All these stories that are sitting down here, your developer is not able to complete them, even so the testers cannot test them. So all of them need to go back into the next sprint that you have. So what you do once you've not finished anything that you need to do, you take them back into the backlog. Now, let me explain something about your backlog to you. Daniel, scroll to your left. Okay. So from new to approve represents your backlog. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So you're those four columns, new, in BA done, approved, they are all categorized as your product backlog. Why we've demarcated them out is for visibility, transparency, so that each person know what the other people are doing. Your BAs can as well just work in the new column, but you won't see what they are doing, will you? You won't be able to see what they're doing. That was why we created columns for them. So that when you see stories in BA, we know, oh, these are the stories the BA are working on. It's for transparency, because this board has to show, carry everybody along. And transparency is key when it comes to Agile. So your in BA shows, oh, this is the story that the BAs are working on. BA done, oh, okay, so that means the BAs have finished their stories. You see stories in approved, oh, these are the stories that the PO has reviewed and approved, signed off on, that we can work on. That was how I said they are that. Okay, so when you take your story back to backlog, when you didn't finish them in a particular sprint, you're actually moving them back to where? Who can tell me what column out of the 4 columns that represents our backlog, what column are we moving them back to?
Approved.
Approved. Thank you. So you can't take them back to new. Remember, the stories have been written. They have been approved by the PO. We've taken them into sprint. What we didn't do was we didn't finish it. So you take them back into your approved column. You can put them above the stories that are in the approved column, so that you've cleared your board for the work you need to do. That's number one scenario. If you have your developer has worked on them, as putting the stories in dev done, the keywords have picked on the story. They've worked part of the story. Maybe your PO, your testers have done manual. It's just automation that is remaining. You can then, again, this has to be part of your development process in your team charter. 2 options that are available. People do it differently, but there are 2 options that are available that you can put on your team charter with agreement with everybody on how to work on it. You can decide that we're going to split that story, because to have a shared credit that goes with the sprint that we've worked on, because development work has been done, isn't it? And part testing work has been done. So on a particular story, you can have about 70% of work has been done. You only have 30% remaining. And you don't want to take all that story back, because if you take all that story back, what has been done in sprint 1 will not be reflected. You're taking everything into sprint 2. So you can decide to say that we're going to split it. Let the development work that has been done and the manual test that has been done on that particular story, let it go on, and then the duplicate that you've created now is what goes back into your backlog for it to go back into the sprint for the developers to work on. Oh, sorry, not the developer now, because the developer work has been completed. For the QA to carry out automation on it. And in splitting that story, let's assume we split this landing page now. It has an estimate of 5 on it. We've split it. You as a Scrum Master will facilitate the discussion. We're asking the developer, the developer's effort has been completed. We're now asking the QA that still has pending work to do on it. How many effort has been completed with the manual part that you've done? He says, oh, okay, so the manual part has been done is an effort of 2. Remaining, okay, so the automation that is remaining is an effort of what? Is an effort of 3. So on the story that is moving on to done, you change the effort on it to 2, number 1. But if the efforts that the developer used in doing that work on it is a 3, it's technical, I understand, like a bit complex. If the developer's work on it is a 3, you won't change it to a 2, it will go with a 3. And then the automation that the tester needs to do, which is a 3, now is the one confirming it's not you, just saying, oh, it's 3 remaining. He said, so he's telling you that, oh, the manual effort I've done is a 2, though the developer's effort on it is a 3. So the original going on to UAT has a 3 on it. The duplicates that you've created, because when you split, you create a duplicate. The duplicate that you've created, what you want to do on the duplicate is to change the effort, because it will have a 5 on it also, because you just split it. You change that to a 3. And then on your heading, you don't want to leave your heading as a landing page, because it will be confusing. There's one landing page going, there's another landing page thing. So beside the landing page you can bracket and put automation to give clarity of why that story is coming back into the next sprint. So when the developer sees landing page automation, the developer is not going to pick it, because remember, the developer is at that meeting. So he has that shared understanding, and then he knows that story is a story that needs to be worked on by the QA, not him. Okay. So the QA can come to the committed column, pick that story, put it in QA in order to finish the automation on it, while the developer are developing other stories that have been taken into that sprint. Have I confused you? Questions,
No,
clarifications?
It's clear. I want to ask, should I say now that we are going to re-estimate this story, or is it only the QA who will estimate?
Depending on the work that is left on it.
Yeah,
So
assuming
if that
it's
story
automation that is remaining.
Yeah, if that story is sitting in in-dev at the end of your sprint and you need to spill it over, if it's in in-dev, I would say don't split it, because the developer has not completed his work. So everything can go into the new sprint. But if the developer has completed, and it's just the tester that needs to work on it, again, it depends on what is left for the tester to do. If the tester has not started work on it at all, I would state my opinion now. Okay, so it's a team agreement. If the tester has not started work on it, I would say let the whole thing the way it is go into the next sprint. However, if that story, the tester has to do manual test and automation, and the manual test has been done already. So what your manual test is saying is that story is passing, if it passes. Okay. If it says it's passing, what your automation test is saying is that you want that passing, that test that you've done, you want to be able to continue to run it automatically. Okay, that's what your automation is. And that's when you now have to decide to say that, okay, so for credits to go into what has been done in sprint 1, because effort has been put in sprint 1 concerning that story, that's when you do your split. If you take all that story back from your sprint 1 into your sprint 2, what you're saying is nothing was done, no effort was carried out to that story in sprint 1.
Yeah, my exact question is who are supposed to estimate it? Only the QA, assuming it's only automation remaining.
Yes, just the QA, because he's the one that has work to do on it. The developer doesn't have anything to do with automation.
Yeah, okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, very clear. Thank you.
Any other person? Any other clarification needed? Please, let's talk, please. It won't be nice for us to finish this meeting and still not have...
This side you explain now is quite confusing for me.
Okay. Any other person? Victoria, Daniel, Delphine, Martha, Ade? Who else is there? I'm trying to see if I can pick. I know names now. I can say your names in my sleep now.
Yeah, is this for the estimation board? I just wanted to be clear.
No, this is the main board now. And the question is about in a situation where you have a work that you didn't finish,
Right.
what you need to do in the next. Okay, so let me go lay terms also. Victoria, you have to make stew. There's no stew at home anymore for the family to eat.
Mhm.
You have to make stew, and you've told yourself, okay, so I'm gonna make this stew today. So you started off and everything, but you were delayed because the chicken didn't thaw on time. By the time you thawed the chicken, you cleaned it and you cooked it and all that, the day is gone already. Okay, so you know you can't finish that cooking that particular day. But
Mhm.
you've put time into it, isn't it? To do all the chicken and all that. You've
Yeah.
grilled the chicken, maybe what you needed to do next to finish up what needed to be done. It's just you now. Your stew is boiled and all that, just to make the stew maybe the next day,
Okay.
which will
So
represent
the
it to be
prep.
another sprint. Yeah. So maybe what you need to do is just make this stew. The chicken is grilled already, so you're not going to spend the same hours you spent today in the kitchen doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tomorrow you're going to spend less hours.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we're saying, to be able to split it. Okay, so you're looking at it and you're saying, I've already used 6 hours today. Maybe the hours that I've put that is going to take me to cook this is 8 hours. I'd already used 6 hours doing the chicken grilling and all that and everything. And for me to just do the stew and then put the chicken in and everything, season and cool down and everything and all that, it's just going to take me 2 hours. Okay, so if anybody asked me to say that, oh, Vivian, so did you make the stew yesterday? Oh, I started yesterday, but I finished today. So I used 6 hours to do yesterday, but the remaining 2 hours to finish up, I used that today. That's what you're doing with your splitting the story, and then dividing your estimates, your efforts, sorry, or story points across the story. What has been used in what I've done already, what is remaining in the one that I'm committing to what I need to do today.
Okay. So I just want to clarify, almost like a to-do list. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but on your sprint board, that's what it would be. So it's not a to-do list. It's just helping you to plan the next sprint, which is your next day properly. Knowing now
Yeah.
that what you need to do, the 2 hours you need to do, I can have other things added to what I need to do tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
Because it's
Okay.
just going to take me 2 hours to do the stew anyway. And then I can decide to do laundry with what I need to do tomorrow. I'm not going to use 6 hours again for the stew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, understood.
Exactly. Do you
Thank
have clarity on that? Okay. Thank you. Any other person? Anyone else? Let's try and get this once and for all. Anyone, please bear with me. Sorry about that. Okay, so any other clarification, or do we go ahead? That question came and I just quickly, okay, so that's what you do. You commit it into sprints. Okay, so after now we've committed to sprints, we've moved them into iteration. We can see that they're showing on the sprints board. What is the next step that we need to take? What is the next step that we take? Anyone? Anyone? Come on, let's what's the next step? What do we do next?
Can you repeat that, please?
Sorry?
Can you repeat your question?
After committing into sprints, we showed how we moved it to the committed column, and then Daniel showed us how we go to the backlog in order to move them into sprints. Okay, so after doing that step, what is the next step we need to do?
Can I
Or
try?
move it in develop, no?
Sorry?
Move it into the next column, the in development stage?
No. That's not your job. You leave
Okay.
it in the committed column. I'll tell you how that moves. I just want us to know what we need to do next. Anyone? Emmanuel?
Encourage developers to create tasks on the task board sprint. The sprint section.
Okay. So you
And
share
create
your
tasks.
screen, your sprint board and then remind your developers and your testers, not just your developers alone, both your developers and your testers, to create their task. So two people are working on a particular story, like that landing page you see there. The developer is going to work on it to develop it. And then your testers are going to test once the developer finished working on it. Okay. So once you just remind them, please don't forget to go on the sprint board in order to create your task. Okay. And then I think I showed us how to create a task. Danny, can you go on the sprint board, please? Okay, so this is where you create your task. So you're the one sharing your screen. So you just come here to say, okay, all our stories, because they will see all the stories. All our stories are now on the task board. Some call it your sprint board. So all our stories are here. Could you please create your assign the stories to yourself? Definitely they will assign the stories to themselves. And then please create your task and estimate it in hours. Now that's another one that I need to explain really well. Stories are estimated in effort or story points. Tasks are estimated in hours. You see that capacity page. Daniel, can you go to the capacity page, please, quickly? No, your capacity page is, yeah. Okay, so here on your capacity page, I know you've done capacity for, okay. So let's assume now that the person, Oluwasegun, has said, I can do 3 hours per day. That is what that 3 means, not 3 days. It means 3 hours per day. Okay, that is his capacity. So you know that is 7 days, and he's saying I can do 3 hours per day. So that's your 3 times 7. It has 21 hours for the whole sprint. Okay, let's go back to the task board. So let's assume now that Segun has 2 stories to work on and he's creating his task here. If he creates the task and he said, okay, for the first one, landing page, I'm going to use 15 hours to do landing page, and he's also the one working on search bar, just giving an example. And he said, it's going to take me 10 hours to do the one on the search bar. What has Segun done? What is the total hours that Segun has estimated now? One is 15 and one is 10. That's 25, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when he was given the capacity, what was his capacity?
3.
It's 3 per day.
3 per day,
times 7, which is what?
21.
21. Can you see that he has overestimated?
Okay.
And that is what you need to, another thing you need to help your team, coach your team to be able to do. And what that does, I will show you where that flags up. Daniel, if you go to where you have the funnel, go to your right at the top right. There is no, not that one. There's a 3 icon before it. I don't know what it's called. Yeah. Okay, so click on it. Click on where you have work details. Click on the work details. Okay, so you can see your work details now. Okay, this is another panel that opens up that gives you a good visual of the capacity your team members have given you at the start of sprint, or that you've recorded for them at the start of sprint, and the estimates they are putting to their task. Like I've explained now, if Olusegun that has 21 capacity for the sprint is giving estimates per hour to his task, and he's putting 25 there, this green will turn to red where Segun's name is. You can see everybody's name. Can you see Segun's name? Can you see that it says 3 hours out of how many hours does he have? Segun's name is at the bottom. Go down, go down. Can you see? So Segun has, at this time, he has 18 hours now, because as each day passes, the hours will be reducing. So by yesterday, when you did the sprint planning, it would have been 21 hours. Okay? 21 minus 3, which is yesterday, gives you 18. That is why you have 18 remaining. And it's showing you that he's just using 3 hours out of the 18 that he has. That's why it's giving you 3 of 18 hours. Because whatever story that Segun has assigned to himself, he has just estimated, as you can see, he's just estimated 3 to it. Can you see the manual test?
Yes.
On the search bar, it has a 3. That's the 3 that is showing. When he estimates his automation to be maybe 5 or 6, it will show there also. Okay, that he's using, let's assume he's estimating his task, the automation, to be 5. It will now turn to 8 out of 18. So he's saying that Segun has, as at today, Segun has a capacity of 18, and out of that 18 is using a 3. So, but like I explained earlier on, if he puts his manual test, if he puts a 15 there or a 10 there, and his automation is putting a 25 there, it's going to turn red. That's bad that you're seeing. It's going to turn red. And what that red is saying is he has overestimated more than the capacity. It can't, it's like you're carrying more than your weight. That is what that would have shown him. So this work details features on Azure also helps you to understand and coach your team. You can show them and coach them how to estimate their story, their task in hours. But you have to understand in order to be able to teach them or coach them, let me use the right word, how to do it. Yeah, do we understand? As you can see, any other person that you're seeing 0 of so hours is because that person has not estimated yet. Okay, like okay, let's look at, I think Tosin's zone is the one below Segun's zone. So Tosin has not put any estimates against any of his stories. That's why you're saying 0 of what he needs to do. But he has assigned task to himself. He has created it and assigned it. That's why it's showing his name in that work details. So you're able to use that also to look at how your team members has estimated, so that you know who has overestimated more than their capacity.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I noticed that author's name is not here on the work details.
Whose name?
Author. He's on holiday. There was no capacity assigned to him. But on the board here, I saw that he assigned story to himself. So maybe
Story?
because there
How
was
did he
no
assign story to himself?
a task to himself. Daniel, can you go back to the board?
Okay.
Please. Can you scroll down, please? I just saw a flash of continue scrolling down. Yeah. Manual testing, auto.
Okay, so who said that? Aha. Now you are being is it an eagle or a hawk now that you're supposed to be? Attention to detail. Yeah, you know that person is on holiday, okay, and you can see story that has been assigned. You can see task that has been created. So these are the things you want to come to your daily stand-up. And do you see now why you need to share your screen during your daily stand-up?
Yeah.
But this is something that you would have only picked up if you're monitoring the board. That is your job as a Scrum Master. You need to monitor your board prior to any meeting. That is for your daily stand-up now. That is your pre-stage. Come to the board, monitor things, and note them down, so that by the time you get to the meeting and they've done their updates, you can now say, oh, sorry, I noticed that author is not around. You know, he's taking the whole sprint off because, you know, he has some personal things to do. But I noticed a task has been created. Did somebody create a task on behalf of him? And then you will get that clarification at that meeting.
Okay.
If he was the one, if he's there and he said, oh, I created it and everything, you've taken 5 days off. Do you have the capacity to still be able to work on these 2 with the 2 days that you have to do manual testing and automation test before the end of that sprint? Yeah, you're able to get that clarification. Already you said he's taking 5 days off, so you won't even be on that meeting. So it's something that you might need to send him a message to say that if all the team members said, oh, he did it himself, we didn't do it for him, and everything. And there's a way you can find out also who created that task for him.
Okay.
Should we check?
Yes, please.
Okay, so click on the manual testing, Daniel. no, let's
In
open up the
progress.
manual text. Open it up. Okay, go to where you have, go on your right to where you have details, storyline. Open the clock one. Okay, so if you come here, you will know who created it. Yeah, so it will tell you who created the task.
Okay. Automatic sign to
who did it?
Himself.
That was on
Tester.
Saturday.
Okay, so he said author Mba change assigned
to author.
So he was the one that created, and you can see when he did.
Yes.
It was 20th.
Maybe that was what he worked on in the
That was what he
previous
worked on
sprint.
during the first sprint.
Yes.
Aha. So now that it has been taken into sprint, and somebody else has to work on it. Okay, so that's another thing that needs to come up during your now you've discovered that this story was worked on during the first sprint. It was part of what we spilled over into the new sprint. Did you see the example I gave earlier on when I was talking about somebody started working on something, they need to go on holiday, they have an emergency, and all that. The team, you're all supposed to look at it together. That knowing this now, do other team members, you're not deliberating, do we have capacity to still work on this particular story? Because that story was assigned to author, and author is not going to be available this sprint, and we've spilled it over into the new sprint. These are part of what you discuss during your daily stand-up. And if it's something that the other team members can say, oh, let's leave it, maybe when I finish what I'm doing, I'm able to work on it and everything, all well and good. If everybody's capacity is full, their own hands are full, we can work on it and everything. If your PO is in your meeting, you can now check with the PO, knowing that we don't have capacity to work on this. Is it okay for us to take this out of sprint now? Because we don't have, the person that worked on it is not available. And like I said, you still have 2 days. You want to talk to him. Is he coming back on Friday? Is he coming back on Saturday? Do you think objectively that he'll be able to work on that story before the end of that sprint? If you get in touch with him and he's not able to work on it, negotiate with your PO. Can we take these out of sprint based on this? Can we descope and take this out of what we needed to do? And then again, you're looking at that particular story. Is it dependent on anything? If we don't work on that story, will other story be dependent on it, which gives it priority? And then you're able to. So those are the things, do you understand, you do during your sprint planning. But other team members won't know. They're focusing on what they need to do. And that's why you have to understand the board and know what the board is telling you. Just like she is able to pick it now when we're on the sprint board. You need to do your monitoring of your board prior to your daily stand-up. Those are the pre that you do for your daily stand-up. Okay? Any question before we go further? Any questions quickly? Okay, so once you, all right, Daniel, let's go back to the sprint board, or the task board. Okay, let's close that work details also. That was just to explain. Okay, so once you come here, after you, like I said, move stories into the sprint, it's just to remind them to create their task. If they don't know how to create it, you have to coach them how to do it, and then estimate, like I said, in hours based on their capacity. And if they said, oh, but haven't we done an estimation before? That estimation is done in story point. This one they are doing now, a task is saying that this is a particular activity that I'm going to carry out against that story. Okay, and then knowing that is a particular story that a particular activity that I'm going to carry out, how long is it going to take me to do it? So and it's done, your estimation is now done in hours. So if let me use a good example of a workforce out there. So if you're working for, let me say, your productive hours, let me put it that way, for your capacity, if your productive hours is 6 hours per day. Okay, so and you have, for you is 7 days a week. sprints that you're working on. So if it's 6 hours per day after you've worked your capacity for like Olusegun, if it's 6 hours per day, I know we've put 3 down. Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm looking at a situation where you have an 8 hours a day work, and the productive hours after doing your capacity falls on 6 hours or 5.5, which is, let's just say, 6 hours. And Segun is saying that it's going to take me 12 hours, yeah, to work on a particular task. How many days is Segun going to use to work on that story?
2 days.
2 days. Well done. Okay, and that's how, you know, they put it in. Now you know that you have 4 hours for your internship, so take your 4 hours as the standard hours that you work and use it to calculate your capacity. You do know that you're not going to go to interview and say that, oh, per day standard hours for my team was 4 hours. Definitely, you're going to say the 4 days and everything, and then the productive time out of that 4 days is so time. So you work that out and everything. You're able, based on the number, their filling of the capacity. You know, when they're filling the capacity out and everything, they're telling you that I'm at work this day, I'm able to do these hours this day, I'm able to do that hours that day and everything. And that's what you use to work their capacity, to know what each person's capacity is, you know, for the sprint. And that helps you also. You know, like we checked now, and it's 3 for Segun. If it's 3 hours per day for Segun, I've explained to you now that if he puts more hours in the task, when in the hours for his task when he's doing it, it might either overcommit, where, like I said, turn to red. We didn't have that situation, or it remains a green, or undercommit, whereby he's using little hours out of the more hours that he has, and that your chart is the one that picks up all that information. So instead of you coming, opening up the work details, calculating, okay, so okay, so is this hour, your chart is calculating everything, and is, you know, giving you the charts, giving you a graphical representation of what is going on your board. So once you've done that, that is where, once you've told them, create your task in hours, some team, again, let me give you 2 scenarios. Some team would say they would wait there, yeah, at that meeting. I think they gave you that example, and they will actually be watching their team members who are also logged on their own laptop, creating the task and putting it in hours, because that Scrum Master just want everything to be set, you know, before the next day. You don't have to go through that. You can just remind them that please do this and everything and all that, and then maybe later on, before your DSU the next day, you're checking to make sure who has created the attacks, and, you know, and then estimated it in hours and all that. Note those ones that have not done it. You can do a reminder to them on the board to say, oh, gentle reminder, Emmanuel, gentle reminder, just to let you know that you've not created your task yet, and because you're monitoring the board. So you are this board's administrator. You are an administrator to this board, this project board. That's why you're the one that created it and configured it to suit the team. So all their self-managing work that they need to do and everything, you're monitoring, and then you're helping them. You're guiding them to work with the process. Those are the Scrum process that you're guiding them to work on, helping them to get better, helping them to be high performing in what they're doing. Okay, so you do that. Or at the daily stand-up, when you share your screen, you see a story and they say, oh, sorry, so who is working on this story because the task has not been created? Oh, I'm the one working on it. Are you on your laptop? At the workplace, you will be on your laptop anyway, so you won't be asking, are you on your laptop? Can you please create, while we're at this meeting, while so is giving his own updates, can you please be creating your task and estimating it in hours? Because you don't want that to go again. You don't want to say, oh, remember to do it, they will forget again, isn't it? But you won't say, oh, it's because you will forget to do it. Can you do it now? You know, we'll have to watch the language we use and everything. So, oh, while Daniel is giving his own details, Emmanuel, can you please just, you know, create your task and estimate it in hours, so that before you leave that DSU, you'll be able to see that has been done, because you want that to be done, you know, and sorted, so that things move on. Okay? Do we all get that? Yeah. Go on, Chief.
Can the team also put such a thing in the team charter that the developers have to create their tasks at the end of the sprint?
Yes.
I think it makes
So
it
under your
easier.
development process, okay, so it depends on, like I said, the team charter, it depends on you, the team. You want to put your process and agree on your process in your team charter. Remember what we said also, that your team charter is a working document. So as you go along and you see things and you agree as a team, oh, let's put this practice in place as best practice going forward, and we'll improve, put it in our team charter. Is that agreed by everyone? They said it's agreed and all that. Scrum Master updates the team charter
Okay.
with that process that has been put in place.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So once you've told them that, that is where your sprint planning ends. Thank everyone. You know, again, any motivational sentence that you can work, you know, we can do it, you know, let's go and give it a go. Thank you everyone for joining. They leave. You don't leave as Scrum Master, because this is where the post now comes in. Your job has not finished. So that has been sorted. You now go and configure your dashboard. Okay, so Daniel, can we quickly check your dashboard and see that it has been configured? Have you configured it?
Yes, he did it yesterday.
Okay, it's been done.
Mm.
Okay, so Daniel, can you show us how you configured your dashboard, especially your your burn down chart?
So click on more actions and then configure. Then by default, since we're moving from one sprint, many of these parts would have been done already. You know, work item, product item, but so I had to change the name so that to identify to sprint 2, and then change the date. So the date is one of the most important things. Then it will now be able to show what exactly is, like what is the current situation of the current sprint. So that was what I did when I was doing it. I don't know if I missed anything.
Okay, so another thing, the one you didn't say, which I think you must have done for us to be okay, so we're not seeing anything, maybe because you didn't change your sprint, because that won't change automatically. Where you have the field criteria, you know, where you have your iteration path. If you go to the value, what do you have in the value? Value.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so your value has to go to sprint 2. Do you see what happened now when you put it in sprint 2?
Yes, I didn't do that.
So you did the date, but because you didn't put it in sprint 2, that was why it wasn't showing you anything prior to this. Yeah. No, your burn down is good because it's a burn up. Your burn up is good.
Okay.
That one is burning up, so that's fine. The one that you need to always come back to configure when you go to a new sprint is your burn down chart.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then you can see the capacity thing also showing that the total capacity for the sprint is saying is 30, and it's saying 7 out of the 30 is what has been used so far. Okay, so those are the task that has been estimated is what is showing you in your charts there, in your capacity charts. Can you see the capacity chart?
No, I cannot see it. Please,
The one that has the green bar.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, that's your capacity chart.
Okay.
Okay, and it's saying that it's only 7 hours that has been estimated for the task out of the total of 30 hours that you have, that the team has. That's what it's showing you here.
Okay, it means the burn chart is also showing in hours, not in story points.
No. I'm talking about, okay, Daniel, go where the 3 dots are. Let's see if we can maximize it. I don't think we can, but try. Oh no, it won't allow us. No, don't worry. You can't configure it. That's the way it is. Okay, so the one I'm talking about is the where Daniel's cursor is. Can you see?
Sprint 2 Ruby Summer Project Team. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's your capacity chart. That's a chart for capacity. So if I don't want to go and be calculating, Shegun says 3, So says 4. This one says 3. This is giving you your total capacity there. For stories, for the task.
Yeah, it's
So
for the
it's saying
task. That's
right
what
now that
I'm
your
talking about.
capacity
It's
is
in
30
hours.
for all the team. Yes, sorry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is in hours. Is the task. It's showing in hours, not in story
No.
point.
No, not in story point, in hours. That's why you have the H beside it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So the burn down chart shows the task.
Your burn down chart is showing your effort. It has been configured to show effort. That's why you can see effort remaining 52. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So that has been
Effort
configured
at the
to show your
story
effort.
points. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Do we all understand? Any questions? So once you configure your chart, you've come to your dashboard, you've configured your chart and everything. That is the end for your post-sprint planning as a Scrum Master.
Okay, how do I see the number of stories we committed to, not the story point, the issues?
You can create, okay, so Daniel, let's create a chart, another burn down. Is a working thing. So
okay.
click on edit, no, edit. Okay, and then pick the burn down chart, add. You've done add, yeah? Just done editing, where you click on edit. Okay, so go down, the chart will be down, the one you picked 2, you can delete 1. Okay, so click on your configure, and then go and configure it to show you the number of stories you took in instead of the story point. So it will be count, not sum. Count of work items. That's the only one there. Work items, don't worry. Your date. You didn't do your criteria, but you can go back to do that. Add criteria. Iteration path. Okay. You can do your advanced also. Show completed work. Save. Okay, so we've used the same widget, but we've configured it with different things. So this one is telling you remaining. Okay, it's done backlog item. Let's go back. We didn't pick PBI. There's a place where we have to pick PBI from.
Sorry, 1 minute, please. I just wanted to ask, allow me. And the PAs go, they are done.
Not that one, Daniel. Allow me, are you there?
Yes, I am. They can go.
All right.
No, not there, Daniel. Leave them. Go to where you have, no, go back up. Where you have work item type under backlog. The one you've picked is backlog. So keep, no, not there. Pick work item type now. Go and pick your PBI there. Scroll down. No, you've picked the bug. Backlog item is there. Okay, so save and close. Okay. So now, if this is telling you now that you have 10 stories that you've taken into the sprint, as you can see, it's saying backlog, product backlog item remaining 10.
Okay.
So if I don't want to go to your board and start counting 1, 2, 3 and all that, your chart will give you the information.
Okay.
Yeah. So that you can use that to be looking at your backlog item to look at how many stories are we burning down. And then the upper one to look at how many efforts are we burning.
Okay.
Okay. Do we all understand? Okay, so this is a wrap up on your sprint planning. So sprint 3 now, I know you guys are going to smash it in, isn't it? Because we've done this now today. Are we all clear? Okay, so Daniel, quickly, let's go back to the board and resolve that you seeing new in the States. Let's go back to your main board. Okay. Click on your setting, your configure setting. Let's go to your column. Okay. So when your story is in new, the state is new. When it's in BA, let's go to in BA. Let's do it one after the other. Go to in BA. What is it showing when it's in BA? Scroll down. It's showing new. Open your product backlog item. No, the drop down you have there. Okay, so that means you've not done the advanced configuration. That's why you're having that. No, that's fine. So let's go to your story in BA done. That should be new also. Scroll down. Okay, good. Your story in approved. Approved. Your story in committed. Committed. And then your story in dev. You see, you didn't change it. So your bug and your product backlog, change it to, okay, so hold on before you change. Don't change it. Don't change. Cancel, come out of this. Any configuration we do now will affect your board. Take a screenshot of how your board is now before we do anything, or things will move. All those stories in dev, the moment we change, they will all go back to the backlog. So do a screenshot of how your board is, the stories that are in new, in BA done, in dev. Let's take a screenshot of everything, the whole board, before we start changing things. So when things are already on any column on the board and you do a change without taking a screenshot, it moves things around and you won't be able to remember what is where. So it's better to do a screenshot of the way the board is, the total board is, before you start doing your changes, or where the stories are, where your PBIs are. You want to do a screenshot of them. Have you done it?
No, there's quite a lot of them, so I'm not sure how to be able to.
Okay, you have a swim lane also. Okay, what you can do is, yeah, reduce it there. You won't be able to reduce everything though.
I'm trying to see if I can press the page, but I don't think I can.
Because you have some stories in done also, which it shouldn't affect things really. But will you be able to see what number is what now? This has made it so small. So you can reduce it to maybe 50 and then do the screenshots twice. You'll be able to see the numbers, isn't it?
Should be able to.
All right, do it twice. Do your your snapping to your screenshots twice. You might need to do it 3 times because of your swim lane.
Yeah.
It won't affect anything in new anyway, because those ones are in new already. The
Oh,
other
okay.
ones that will be affected are the ones that are in other columns.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, I think we're good. Let me see.
Let's zoom out. Or is it zoom in? I don't know which one is which now.
Sure.
Okay, let's go back to the configure setting. Columns. Okay. And then your stories in depth. Or now, you know what? Daniel, close this one. Let's just do the advanced setting now, so that you don't have to come back and do this again. Go to your project settings at the bottom left. And then click on your process. The process is underneath. No, your process is underneath where your project details. Yeah, there. No, you don't. Yes, click on it. Okay, that's your inherited process. You want to pick on your. Let's see where we're going to go to. PBI. Let's pick the PBI. Product backlog item. Click on it. No, not the 3 dots on there. Okay, go to where you have state at the top. States. Okay, so these are the states you have. So all the columns we have, we want to add them to our states so that they're showing on our story. Our PBI will be showing when they go in there. Okay, so click new states. Okay, we have in BA, isn't it? So put in BA there. Okay, and then it should be under proposed. No, not yet. Category should be proposed. Okay, because it's in the backlog. So pick proposed. Okay, and then create. All right, do the same thing for your BA done. All right, by default, you have approved there, so we don't need to do approve. So the next one we need to do after committed, what column comes next on your board after committed?
In dev.
In dev, okay. So create a state for in dev. Oh yeah, that should be in progress. So that's fine. Create another one for your dev done. Just all your columns, create for them to be in progress.
In QA. Okay. I think we have everything for okay. So go to your Ruby Scrum at the top, because we're going to pick the bug also. Ruby Scrum at the top, No. Ruby Scrum at the top. After all processes, you have Ruby Scrum. Up more. Beside your backlog item, go to the next one. Yes. So go and pick your bug. We want to do states for the bug also. Go to states at the top. Okay. So your bugs are not going to go to new anyway. So we want to create a state for it. And we want to put active. Okay. Active. So in progress, yes. Do you want to change the color? Oh, you've created it. See if you can edit it. Okay. Do you want to change the color that when it's active, it should be red, since it's a bug? Right? And then save. And then pick a new state. Still in progress. Put closed there.
and then you change the color. Once it's closed, what color do you want it to show? Green. Okay. Create it.
When is
also.
in close, is it supposed to also be in progress when closed?
Yeah. So a QA can work on it. Once, okay, when we get to the body, we'll see why we had to do that. Yeah. It will be better when we get to the body. Okay, so once that is done now, let's go back to our project board now so that we can configure our board properly now. Okay, go to the configure setting. Columns. All right, let's start putting our story where they should be now. So when it's in there, so in your BA now should be in BA. Okay, you're picking bug. The PBI should be the one going in BA because bugs don't go in BA. Don't say yet. Do everything.
Okay.
So your approved stays approved. Yeah, committed stays committed. And then and then hold on. In your in-dev, your bug changes also to active. Okay, and then in your dev done, the bug is still active, and your PBI is in dev done. Not BA done, dev done. It's still active. Good. Then in QA. Then in QA done, your bug becomes closed now. Okay, Chi, do you understand now? So once a bug is created, it's created by a tester and it's saying, oh, there's a defect in so. So it gives it to the developer. The developer works on it, fixes it, and puts it in dev done. It's still active. The tester now retests it, picks it from dev done, put it in QA, retest it, and once it's retested and everything is passing, it puts it in QA done. Once that bug gets to QA done, it changes to closed.
Okay.
So what he's saying is the bug you raised, it has been sorted, resolved. I've retested it, everything is fine, it's closed.
Yes, okay. So after the
Do you understand?
reconfirmation from the QA, then it is
Yes.
closed. Okay, thank you.
Oh, we didn't do for DA. I didn't know you have in DA and DA done. Were you supposed to have in DA and DA done? Because your
Yeah,
DAs are developers also.
Yesterday.
Yeah. Their tasks are not directly associated with the sprint, but they should just ask that we create a column so that
for them.
Yeah, so that they can create their like they can create their
I
their
didn't know.
work.
We would have created a state for them also if I had known. Okay, so you know how to do it, so you can go back and do that. Oh, let's do it now because it will affect your screenshots again. Can you quickly save these ones and close and quickly just go and create two thing for them also? I didn't know you have them also on your. So you go to your project settings, you pick your process. DA done. No. Daniel, I know you're tired. No, not done. It's still in progress.
Okay.
But it's not going to be tested.
Yeah. So when they are done with theirs, since it's not directly related to
They are
this
done
Okay,
and they are
put
done.
completed then. Yeah, that's fine. Put completed. But completed takes it to done. Okay, that's fine. Put completed, don't worry. Because that takes it to done anyway. No. Okay, let's change that. It's going to cancel the normal done. Can you see what is done?
Yeah. Okay.
So cancel the DA one. If we cancel out the DA one, it takes the other one back to. So it takes it back to you. So still leave it at leave it at in progress. So no, do their DA done. You can change the color to green, but leave it in progress, because once you change that to completed, it's going to override the done that has been there by default.
Okay.
So they can take their own story now from DA done to done themselves, or if maybe their mentor or their tutor wants to review it before taking it to done, they can do it while it's in their DA done column. Do you understand?
Okay. So then we can go back to the board.
Yeah, you have to go back to the board.
So can we just drag it directly?
Okay, the ones that I've moved back. Okay, do you know all the numbers of the ones that you're supposed to move back into in-depth? Yeah, you can drag it. That's why it's better to do all the setup before any story starts moving about. But again, if you do it while the stories are there, you just need to do the screenshots of where everything is so that you're able to move them back. So where they should be. Okay, while Daniel is doing that, do we have any questions? In the next 6 minutes, we should wrap up. We should even be able to wrap up before then. Any question from anyone? Delphine, do you have any questions for me?
I got lost at a point, but I cannot even.
All right. The video is there anyway for you to go and watch. So please watch the video on time, and so that if you, I understand that you're committed to other things and time, but one thing you need to know is once you don't watch your video on time, in order to practice what you've learned, it keeps piling up. You know what you need to do keeps piling up. Okay. So Chi, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any.
All right. Vivian, any clarification?
I've been lost since I watched the video.
Lost you halfway, have you? Just watch the videos.
The one thing I saw our board earlier, and I know we committed 5 stories yesterday, but what I saw was 1 story in committed and the other 4 in dev.
Yeah, that means you're a developer. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me quickly explain that. Okay. While Daniel is doing what he's needed to do, remember that once you finish approved estimation and everything, you moved all the stories that the team is going to commit to into committed column, isn't it?
Yes.
And then you move them into sprint. So they're on
And
the
then we
committed
moved
column.
the 5 into sprint.
Yeah, they've all been moved into sprint, but they stay on the committed column. So now that was the question Victoria also was asking earlier on, and Emmanuel, that how does things get moved on? So the developer comes, picks the story from committed and move it into in-dev. What he's saying is that I'm working on it.
Okay.
Okay. When they finish working on it, they move it to dev done.
All right.
And what that means is telling the QA that I finished working on this story, I finished developing the story. You can pick it up and test it. Now they work on the two boards. So here on this board, they move the story from committed to in dev. The developers start working on it. And then on the task board, they move their task from to do into in progress. So when they finish what they're doing on that task and they move that task from in progress to done, they come here to also move the story from in dev to dev done.
Okay.
So the QA, the tester, picks it from dev done, puts it in QA to mean that I, the QA, I'm testing it, I'm working on it. And then they go on the sprint board and move their task from to do into in progress. Let's assume they're working on their manual test.
Yeah.
Sorry? Yeah. So they move it to in progress. They finish their manual test. They still leave their story here in QA because if they have automation to do, there's still automation to do. So they work on their automation. Once they finish their manual test and automation, they move their story from in QA to QA done. Once the story is in QA done, the BA or the PO, let's assume your PO has delegated UAT to be done by the BA. The BA picks it from QA done into in UAT and run UAT on it. Once they finished and everything is passing, all the features on the website is aligning with the acceptance criteria, they move it to UAT done. Once it's in UAT done, now again, this is another agreement that has to be on your team charter. Once the BA finished working on doing UAT test on a story, does the BA move it to done, the last column, or do you, the Scrum Master, do that? It has to be on your team charter as an agreement.
So
Okay.
once
Sorry?
no, I said the sentence you said what you said last.
Yeah, I said it has to be an agreement within your team, your Scrum team, to say who takes the story from UAT done to done, the last column, completed column. Is it the BA? Do you want to say, oh, BA, once you finish your UAT, just take the story to done? Or you want to say, just leave your story. Once you finish your UAT, leave it in UAT done. We, as the Scrum Master, will take it from UAT done and put it in the done column.
Okay.
There has to be an agreement on your team charter that you want to put there. And that's how your story moves on. Victoria, you were asking earlier, do you understand now how the story moves on? Who picks what from where?
A little bit, yes. You've done amazing.
Tell me where you're not clear. Let me clarify it.
I can't tell you where I'm not clear, but been amazing
You're
tonight.
up in space.
No, you've been amazing tonight, all of you. But I'm as lost as Vivian.
Okay, just please
Victoria,
watch the video.
you're beginning to dream now. It's echoing.
No, I'm definitely here and present.
You're in space.
Please watch the video, and if you still need clarification, drop me a DM.
Victoria,
Oh,
do you know in movies? Do you know in movies when they are showing the witch parts? That's how your voice is sounding. That echo, like as if the person is a witch in Underworld. That's the echo we are receiving.
This lady has watched a lot of Nollywood. Okay, Martha, are we good to go, or we'll watch the recording for better clarification?
I followed through, but I will still need to watch the video. I think it's a lot to pack in.
I know, in a day. I know.
Hours
yeah.
Sometimes we are carried away. We are discussing what others are supposed to do, and when they know they are not doing it, then we should do it for them. So I think it interferes with my learning because I want to know what I'm to do first. When I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing, then I can support others to do what they are not doing.
But remember that while you're getting the confidence, to coach your team to do what they need to do. The sprint is going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you have to be up on your game in order to lead the team because you're the one leading them. Emmanuel. Emmanuel is asleep. Emmanuel is in the kitchen.
In a flight.
All right, Ade.
I'm okay. Yeah, I'll revert to the video. Is it gonna be uploaded now or?
Once we finish and I've been able to download it, I would send it over to the appropriate quarters that would download it.
No problem. I think we'll get Daniel, Chi and I will get back together. Or if they want to, if you're Emery want to join us, we can recap. There's no big deal.
Yeah. And another thing you can do to help your team, do share knowledge. So
Yes.
if you understand, jump on a meeting, call all the other Scrum Masters, ask each other, because then you're sharing knowledge. What don't you understand? Share your screen, put them through.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we need that. So there's no Ruby or Emery. We just sit together and share the knowledge. We'll just be whatever we know. We just put it on the table.
Yeah. You can decide to all meet together, not just maybe Ruby meeting alone. You can all decide. Your SOS is just to arrange for meeting.
My left brain is, I think my left brain is sleeping right now. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, my left brain is sleeping, but my right is still functioning.
Functioning, okay. Don't worry, I'm a night crawler, so I'm always
my left and the right brain.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right, thank
you
so much. Thanks so much, everyone. I've eaten 3 minutes out of the meeting time I called for. So I want to believe that even though we've spent 33 minutes extra, this meeting has been productive, isn't it?
It is.
Feedback, please. Has it been productive?
Yeah,
so those 33 minutes are not wasted.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
A lot of clarity.
All right.
Clarity.
Thank you so much, everyone, for participating
Thank
and
you.
your patience in waiting over for this
We
to be
just
done.
thank you to all the mentors and bodies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
my
Have a wonderful
teammates.
night.
You
Hi,
too.
everyone. Don't oversleep. We're having more
Yes.
activities tomorrow.
Victoria, Francis,
Good night.
Ade.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
My madam at the top, are you going?
Yeah. Yes. So I just want to check. Okay, it's going to record on my side, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Once it's finished, I'll just send it to the group for them to upload it. That's fine. I thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Good.